Peter Newbold is the GM of PGG Wrightson Real Estate. Let's take our monthly look at the rural market, which is worth around $3 billion per annum. Those sales numbers have dropped from $4.5 billion in 2014, and I just compare that to the lifestyle market in this country, and I always struggle with this figure, is worth $6 billion. Peter Newbold, we're a long way off the pace when it comes to sales of farms around the country at the moment. Good afternoon, by the way.
Hi, Jamie. Yeah, it's an interesting stat, and it's sort of really bottomed out now. And when you compare it to lifestyle, it's sort of hard to actually get your head around it sometimes. But I guess, if you look at 2014, we've come way down. And the other interesting thing there is units. They're back from, 2000, hovering around 1,400. So some big changes. And the other interesting thing is that most of the drop has been in the South Island. North Island has remained pretty static, and I guess, that comes back to dairy has had such a huge influence on the South Island over the last couple of years.
The staggering stat, mid-Canterbury sales are 10% of what they were in 2014. Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were just having a look at that the other week, and, when you think of some of these areas, Waikato back a couple of $100 million. Canterbury sales, 2/3 of what they were, as you mentioned, mid-Canterbury. And, Southland's dropped a couple of hundred, but it's still a big market. And then you look on the other side, Wairarapa, Manawatu, Tasman, Otago are actually bigger areas than Canterbury at the moment, and even King Country on par. So, you then look at that, what's driving that? Well, I guess sheep and beef and change in land use is having an impact on those new regions that have come up. And, of course, the dairy has had a big impact on those traditional areas like, Canterbury and mid-Canterbury.
As you point out, the North Island has been largely unaffected by this drop, and the further north we go, in some ways, the more positive it is because we're really getting into horticulture country there. Lots of action there.
Yeah, there's a lot in horticulture. I think also, you look at close to those big centres, but the change of land use or the opportunities to change land use, that's probably driven a lot of that when you think, dairy's gone to hort, certain sheep and beef properties in the North Island gone to forestry. There's a number of factors in that space that are stimulating, I guess, the properties in the north. And also the size of the properties in the north are a little bit smaller than the south. So when you come back to that whole banking proposition, easier to buy and sell.
And providing the bank will lend you some money. Mind you, if you've got some money to invest, the bank's not going to give you much, give you 2 or 3% if you're lucky on your money. I think we talked about this last month. Dairy farms on the west coast, now that they've sorted out Westland milk products that are yielding on current returns anyhow, 8 or 9 or 10%. And, you look at the low interest rates and you've got to think people are going to start chasing some of these properties just on a yield story alone.
Yeah, well, I think that's the critical point you've raised is, I think for both buyers and sellers in this market, you've really got to look at profitability as the key measure, not the potential of capital gains. And I think if you start to look at that, then there are some really good opportunities. But both parties are going to have to get their head around the fact that that's where the market is today, and it's not about what it was in 2014.
Talking about the positive market for sheep and beef properties, we have got a cracker of a property for our PGG Wrightson Property of the Week. This is a large Strathtyre sheep and beef unit, which is an hour at most out of Dunedin. I love driving up to central Otago through the Strathtyre, through Middlemarch area there. It is stunning country. I reckon if you wanted to be a sheep and beef farmer, that would be as good a place as any.
Yeah, as you said, Jamie, it's an interesting part of the world, and probably a lot of your listeners don't get the opportunity to go up there, but it's beautiful country, it's clean and tidy, and, even on certain parts of this property, Huntley Station, you can actually see the sea in the distance. And again, you look at properties of this size, they don't come to the market very often. Wonderful opportunity for someone in a lovely part of the country.
Now, Huntley Station is made up of effectively 3 farms, Huntley, Lindores, and a property called 3 O'Clock. What a great name for a farm.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I was told a story that it got its name from, in years gone by when they used to haul wool to Dunedin, and around about 3 o'clock, that's where they got to, and that's how the station was named. So, wonderful name, and I think it fits with that countryside.
Fantastic. You can have a look at the large Strathtyre sheep and beef unit, Huntley Station, including Lindores, and 3 O'Clock on our website, thecountry.co.nz. Click on Rural Properties. Peter Newbold, always good to chat. We'll talk again next month.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie, and have a good day.